The last beacon. Commander Vexter's breath came in ragged gasps as he dragged himself through the wreckage of the Kraven warship's command center. Emergency lights flickered weakly, casting haunting shadows across the bodies of his fallen crew. The attack had come without warning, precise, devastating, and merciless. Now, in the deathly silence of space, he was the only one left. The ship's primary systems were dead. No propulsion, no weapons, no long-range communications. Only the emergency beacon remained, powered by its isolated quantum core. Vexter's scaled hands trembled as he activated the distress signal, knowing it was likely futile. This far in the uncharted regions, no Kraven patrol would hear his call. His people never ventured this deep into the void. "This is Commander Vexter of the Kraven Defense Force vessel Striker's Claw," he recorded, his voice rough from the smoke he'd inhaled during the attack. "Ship critically damaged. Crew," he paused, mandibles clicking in grief. "Crew lost. Unknown hostile force. Require immediate assistance." The message would repeat endlessly, a digital echo of what might be his final words. Hours passed like centuries. Vexter worked methodically to preserve what little power remained, sealing off damaged sections and rerouting emergency life support to the bridge. His military training kept him focused, but even that iron discipline couldn't completely suppress the creeping dread. The void seemed to press in around him, an endless darkness eager to claim one more victim. The temperature dropped steadily as systems failed one by one. Vexter's thermal scales began to dull, their usual brilliant blue fading to a sickly gray. He had perhaps 6 hours before hypothermia would set in. His species wasn't built for the cold of space, they were children of a desert world, evolved under triple suns. In the observation bay, Vexter watched the stars wheel slowly past his crippled vessel. The Striker's Claw's rotation was uncontrolled now, the stabilizers long dead. Each turn brought a new view of the infinite darkness, empty of hope. He recorded what might be his final log entry. "To whoever finds this vessel, we were ambushed by an unknown force using technology beyond our current understanding. Their weapons cut through our shields as if they weren't there. They showed no interest in communication or surrender terms. I recommend extreme caution in this sector. The threat may still be active." A bitter laugh escaped him. Recommendations to the void, how fitting for a final act of duty. The first sign of change came during his 7th hour alone. A slight variation in the background radiation picked up by the last functioning sensor array. Vexter's hearts quickened, but was it rescue or the return of their attackers? He had no weapons, no shields, not even engines to attempt an escape. Then he saw it, a ship emerging from the darkness. Its design was completely alien to him, neither the sleek predatory lines of Kraven vessels nor the geometric precision of their known rivals. This ship bore sweeping curves and prominent viewing ports, more reminiscent of a deep space explorer than a warship. Vexter's translator crackled to life, struggling with an unknown language. The message repeated several times before resolving into something comprehensible. "Unidentified vessel, this is Captain Yuki Tanaka of the United Earth ship Pathfinder. We've detected your distress beacon. Do you copy?" Humans, Vexter had heard of them, a young species barely a century into faster-than-light travel. Their reputation was mixed. Aggressive when threatened, yet also known for unexpected acts of altruism. Some called them unpredictable, others dangerous. Right now, they were his only hopes. "This is Commander Vexter," he responded, forcing strength into his voice. "I am the sole survivor aboard this vessel. We were attacked. My crew," he steadied himself. "I require assistance." "Understood, Commander. We're detecting severe damage to your ship's structure. Prepare for emergency rescue operations. Can you make your way to your primary airlock?" "Affirmative." Vexter gathered what he could, his command codes, the ship's data core, his personal weapons. He wouldn't board their vessel completely defenseless even if they were offering aid. "Be advised, I am Kraven military. My appearance may be startling to your crew." "Acknowledged, Commander. We've had limited contact with your species before. Our medical bay is prepared for xenobiological support. Stand by for docking procedure." As Vexter watched the human ship maneuver alongside his ruined vessel, he felt something he hadn't experienced since the attack. Hope. Whether these humans proved to be allies or simply opportunists, they were at least a chance at survival. And perhaps, if fortune favored him, a chance at justice for his fallen crew. The docking tube extended like a lifeline through the void. Behind him, the Striker's Claw groaned, metal stress fractures spreading through its wounded hull. Ahead lay the unknown, a human ship, a human crew, and mysteries yet to unfold. Commander Vexter straightened his spine, checked his sidearm, and prepared to meet his rescuers. The story of the Striker's Claw might have ended here in the depths of space, but perhaps his own story was about to take an unexpected turn. Unexpected salvation. The airlock hissed open on the UES Pathfinder, revealing a sight Commander Vexter had never expected to see: a human emergency response team. their environmental suits marked with symbols he assumed indicated medical expertise. They showed no visible reaction to his imposing reptilian form, his battle-scarred scales, or the ceremonial markings that covered his face. "Commander, I'm Dr. Raj Patel," the lead figure said, removing their helmet to reveal dark skin and calm eyes. "Can you walk unassisted? Our artificial gravity might take some adjustment for your physiology." Vexter's military training warred with his instincts. Every fiber of his being screamed against showing weakness before unknown aliens, but the cold and fatigue were taking their toll. "I can manage," he stated, taking a step forward only to stumble as his legs nearly gave out. Two crew members moved to support him instantly, their movements careful but sure. "No shame in accepting help, Commander," a female voice said from his left. "I'm Lieutenant Wei Zhang, Security Chief. Your sidearm can remain with you, but I trust it won't be necessary." The question carried weight. Vexter appreciated their directness. In his experience, humans were often unnecessarily diplomatic. "You have my word as a Kraven warrior. Unless threatened, my weapon stays holstered." The medical bay was a marvel of efficiency and advanced technology. Dr. Patel worked quickly, scanning Vexter's vital signs while a thermal blanket helped restore his body temperature. Captain Tanaka arrived as the initial treatment was concluding. "Commander, welcome aboard the Pathfinder," she said, her presence commanding respect despite her smaller stature. "I've reviewed the preliminary scans of your vessel. The damage patterns are concerning. Would you be willing to share what happened?" Vexter's inner eyelids flickered, a sign of distress in his species. "We were conducting a standard patrol of the outer territories when they appeared. 3 ships, configuration unknown. Their energy signatures were masked somehow. We didn't detect them until they opened fire." His claws dug into the medical bed's padding. "Our shields, they were useless. Weapons penetrated as if they weren't there. We managed one counterstrike before main power failed. No effect." Captain Tanaka exchanged glances with her security chief. "Did you get any sensor readings we could analyze? This region has been experiencing increased reports of missing ships over the past few months." "My data core," Vexter gestured to his salvaged equipment, "contains everything up to final system failure, though I must warn you sharing military data with non-Kraven forces is typically forbidden." "Typically," Lieutenant Zhang raised an eyebrow. "These are not typical circumstances," Vexter replied grimly. "My crew is dead. If there is a new threat in this sector, my duty to prevent further casualties outweighs protocol." Dr. Patel interrupted their discussion. "Captain, while the commander's injuries aren't life-threatening, he needs rest. The hypothermia combined with trauma and oxygen deprivation requires at least 12 hours of recovery." "Of course," Tanaka nodded. "Commander, we've prepared quarters for you. Once you've rested, we can discuss our next steps. Lieutenant Zhang will show you the way." The guest quarters were Spartan by human standards but luxurious compared to Kraven military accommodations. Vexter found himself studying every detail, noting the strange mix of practical design and what appeared to be purely aesthetic choices. A large viewport offered a view of his ruined ship, still drifting lifelessly in space. "The mess hall is 2 decks up," Zhang explained. "We've programmed the food synthesizers with what we know of. Kraven dietary requirements. The computer can guide you or you can request an escort." "You trust me to move freely about your ship?" Vexter asked, genuinely curious. Zhang's expression remained professional but carried a hint of warmth. "Captain Tanaka believes that trust given is often trust earned. Besides, our security systems are more sophisticated than they appear. Rest well, Commander." Left alone, Vexter finally allowed his rigid control to slip. His hands shook as he removed his damaged armor, each piece holding memories of comrades now lost to the void. The Striker's Claw had been his home for 7 cycles, her crew more family than subordinates. Now they were gone, and he was at the mercy of aliens whose motives he couldn't fully comprehend. Sleep came fitfully, filled with dreams of silent explosions and dying screams. He woke several times, momentarily panicked by the unfamiliar surroundings before reality reasserted itself. The ship's computer maintained a constant low light level that helped orient him, another thoughtful touch he hadn't expected. During one such waking moment, Vexter found himself drawn to the viewport. The Pathfinder's external lights illuminated the Striker's Claw's hull, revealing the full extent of the damage. The weapon impacts had left strange patterns, almost like decay rather than explosive damage. As he watched, a piece of the hull simply dissolved into space. A cold certainty settled over him. Whatever had attacked his ship wasn't just powerful, it was using technology that defied known physics. The humans had saved him, yes, but they might have also involved themselves in something far more dangerous than they realized. The door chime interrupted his dark thoughts. "Commander," Captain Tanaka's voice came through the comm system. I apologize for the early hour, but our science team has finished their initial analysis of your ship's data core. We've detected an energy signature matching the attack pattern. It's heading this way. Vexler's combat training kicked in instantly, fatigue forgotten. How long? 4 hours at current speed. We need to make some decisions, Commander, quickly. The stars seemed to mock him through the viewport, their light cold and distant. 4 hours to prepare for an enemy that had destroyed his ship in minutes. 4 hours to decide if he could truly trust these humans with everything he knew about Kraven military capabilities. 4 hours to choose between duty and survival. I'm on my way, Captain, he replied. And thank you for the rescue. Whatever happens next, I want that said. Hunters in the dark. The Pathfinder's command center hummed with focused energy as Commander Vexler studied the holographic display with Captain Tanaka and her senior staff. The approaching energy signature pulsed an ominous red against the starfield projection, its pattern matching exactly what his ship had recorded before the attack. 3 hours 42 minutes until intercept, Lieutenant Zhang reported from her security station. Still no response to our hails. They won't respond, Vexler's voice was hard with certainty. They didn't with us either. Captain, your ship is primarily an exploration vessel. You should activate your jump drive while you still can. Captain Tanaka's eyes never left the tactical display. The Pathfinder may be an explorer, Commander, but we're not defenseless. Chief Engineer Monroe, what have you learned from the Striker's Claws sensor data? A tall woman with graying hair stepped forward, her hands moving through the holographic readouts with practiced ease. Their weapons operate on principles we've never seen before. They're not using conventional energy or projectile-based systems. It's more like they're accelerating entropy in localized areas. That's why the commander's ship appears to be decomposing rather than showing normal battle damage. Decomposing? Dr. Patel looked disturbed. You mean they're weaponizing decay itself? Precisely, Monroe nodded. They're somehow manipulating fundamental forces to break down matter at the atomic level. No shield technology I'm familiar with could stop that. Vexler's scales rippled with agitation. Then we cannot fight, you must flee. Or, Captain Tanaka said quietly, we adapt. She turned to her engineer. Kate, you said no shield technology you're familiar with. What about something unfamiliar, something new? Monroe's eyes lit up with understanding. The quantum field generator, Captain, it's experimental. We've never tested it in combat conditions. What is this technology? Vexler demanded. A prototype defense system, Zhang explained. Instead of traditional shields, it creates a bubble of altered spacetime around the ship. In theory, it could protect us from any attack by shifting us partially out of normal space. In theory, Monroe emphasized, but the power requirements are enormous. We'd have to shut down every non-essential system, including life support in most areas of the ship, and if it fails. We die, Tanaka finished. Just like we'll die if we do nothing. Commander, your military experience could be invaluable here. Will you help us? Vexler studied each human face in turn. Their expressions showed fear, yes, but also determination. It was not the rigid discipline of his people, but something more adaptable. His military training screamed that sharing tactical knowledge with aliens was treason, but he had already watched one crew die. He would not let it happen again. The Kraven Defense Force has encountered similar theories in our research, he said finally. We never pursued them because the energy cost was deemed inefficient, but we discovered that quantum fields can be stabilized using harmonics from crystalline matrices. Monroe snapped her fingers. The crystals in your data core, they're not just storage devices, are they? No, they're quantum resonators, and I have 12 of them. The next 2 hours were a blur of activity. Under Monroe's direction, crews modified the Pathfinder's experimental defense system, integrating the Kraven crystals into key points around the ship. Vexler worked alongside them, his military precision complementing the humans' innovative approach. All hands, this is the captain, Tanaka's voice echoed through the ship. In 1 hour we will engage an unknown hostile force. All non-essential personnel proceed to emergency shelters. This is not a drill. In the engineering bay, Vexler watched Monroe make final adjustments to the quantum field generator. Even with the crystals, we'll only get one shot at this, she said. The system will burn out after about 3 minutes. Then we must make those minutes count, he replied. His warrior training had taught him to face death without fear, but these humans, they faced it with hope. It was strangely inspiring. The first attack came exactly as predicted. 3 ships materialized from what appeared to be normal space, their hulls black as the void itself. The Pathfinder's sensors registered the same energy spike that had preceded the Striker's Claw's destruction. All hands brace for impact, Tanaka ordered. Monroe, activate the quantum field on my mark. Vexter stood on the bridge beside Zhang, watching the enemy vessels move into attack formation. It was exactly like before, except this time he was not helpless. This time he had allies. Multiple weapons lock, Zhang reported, energy spike rising. Let them get closer, Tanaka's voice was steel. We need them committed to the attack. The enemy ships fired, their strange weapons reaching out like tentacles of pure entropy. Vexter's hearts pounded as he watched death approach once again. Now, Tanaka commanded. Monroe slammed her hand down on the activation sequence. The Kraven crystals hummed in perfect harmony with the human technology, creating something entirely new. A shimmer of otherworldly energy enveloped the Pathfinder just as the enemy weapons struck. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the entropy beams seemed to slide around them, unable to find purchase in the altered spacetime surrounding the ship. The enemy vessels immediately adjusted their attack pattern, but their weapons had no effect. 2 minutes of field stability remaining, Monroe reported. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast. Vexter turned to Tanaka. Captain, the field doesn't just defend us, it gives us an advantage they can't counter, we can attack through it. A fierce smile crossed Tanaka's face. Tactical, target their main power signatures, full spread of quantum torpedoes. Let's see how they like a taste of their own physics-defying medicine. The Pathfinder's counterattack caught the enemy completely off guard. The quantum torpedoes, enhanced by their passage through the altered spacetime field, struck with devastating effect. The first enemy ship simply ceased to exist, its matter scattered across multiple dimensions. Field stability at 30 seconds, Monroe warned as the remaining enemy vessels began to retreat. Make them count, Tanaka ordered. Target the second ship. The third one we let go, someone needs to carry the message that this sector is defended. The second ship followed the first into oblivion. As the quantum field collapsed, the third vessel vanished into deep space, leaving behind only echoes of its strange energy signature. In the sudden quiet of the bridge, Vexter found himself experiencing an unfamiliar emotion. Pride, yes, but not the isolated pride of Kraven military victory. This was something shared, born of cooperation between species who had been strangers mere hours ago. Well, Commander, Tanaka said, turning to him with respect in her eyes. It seems the Kraven Defense Force and the United Earth Fleet make quite a team. Indeed, he replied, his normal stoicism cracking slightly. Though I believe we have all violated several protocols about sharing military technology. Sometimes, Zhang offered with a slight smile, inefficiency has its advantages. Looking at the coordinates where his old ship still drifted, Vexter couldn't help but agree. The Striker's Claws crew would not return, but perhaps their sacrifice would forge something new, an alliance born in the dark between stars, proved in battle, and sustained by the best qualities of both species. Bridges built in starlight. The Pathfinder drifted in the silence after battle, its hull bearing the scars of their desperate gambit. In the ship's conference room, Commander Vexter sat with Captain Tanaka and her senior staff, all of them processing the events that had transformed them from strangers to brothers-in-arms in mere hours. The quantum field generator is completely burned out, Chief Engineer Monroe reported, fatigue evident in her voice. The Kraven crystals are intact, but they've changed somehow. They're resonating on frequencies I've never seen before. A merger of technologies, Vexter observed, his scaled fingers tracing patterns on the conference table. Like our species, they have been transformed by working together. Dr. Patel entered the room, his medical tablet displaying streams of data. We've completed analysis of the spatial distortions left by the enemy vessels. Whatever they are, they're not from any known part of our galaxy. The entropy weapons they used. They violate our understanding of physics. Not just physics, Lieutenant Zhang added, pulling up security footage of the battle. Their tactics were unlike anything in our combat databases. They attacked without warning, without demands, without any attempt at communication. That's not the behavior of pirates or raiders. Captain Tanaka studied the footage thoughtfully. You think they're not from our space at all, don't you, Commander? Vexter's inner eyelids flickered rapidly, a sign of deep concern in his species. The Kraven have legends passed down through generations of warriors, tales of beings from between spaces who come not to conquer or steal but to unmake. We dismissed them as stories to frighten younglings. Now I am not so certain. Between spaces, Monroe leaned forward, suddenly alert despite her exhaustion. The readings we got when they disappeared. They didn't jump to hyperspace or use any known form of FTL. They seemed to fold themselves into dimensions we couldn't track. Which means they'll be back, Zhang stated grimly. And next time they'll be ready for our trick with the quantum field. Silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Humanity and the Kraven had just stumbled into something far larger than their historic first cooperative military action. They had drawn the attention of something ancient and utterly alien. We need to get this information to both our governments, Tanaka said finally. But more than that, we need them to understand what happened here today, not just the threat but what we achieved together. Vexter stood, his impressive height drawing all eyes. Captain, by all rights, I should be dead. My ship destroyed, my crew lost, alone in deep space. Instead, I find myself part of something unprecedented. A human ship risked everything to save an unknown alien. Your crew worked alongside me without hesitation or prejudice. Together, we achieved what neither of our species could have done alone. The question is, Dr. Patel interjected, will our respective leaders see it that way? The Kraven are known for their conservative approach to interspecies relations. They are, Vexter acknowledged. As the sole survivor of the Striker's Claw, I am required to report directly to the High Command. My word carries the weight of sacred testimony. What I choose to tell them will shape their response to these events. And what will you tell them, Commander? Tanaka asked quietly. Vexter's expression shifted into what the humans had learned was his species' version of a smile. The truth, that I witnessed humanity's greatest strengths firsthand, your innovation, your adaptability, your willingness to trust. But most importantly, your understanding that true strength comes not from standing alone but from standing together. You realize, Zhang said, that by helping us, by sharing your technology, you've technically violated several of your military's highest protocols. Indeed, Vexter's tone carried no regret. And I would do so again. The enemy we face today cares nothing for our protocols or boundaries. They are a threat to all life that follows the normal laws of space and time. We must evolve beyond our divisions if we hope to survive. Monroe had been working on her tablet throughout the conversation. She looked up suddenly. Captain, I've been analyzing the resonance patterns from the modified crystals. If we can reproduce this effect on a larger scale, we might be able to create an early warning system for spatial incursions. But it would require unprecedented cooperation between our sciences. A joint defense initiative, Tanaka mused. That would mean technology sharing, joint training, combined fleet operations. A complete restructuring of both our approaches to space warfare, Vexter finished. The Kraven High Command will resist. Change does not come easily to my people. Then we make them understand what's at stake, Dr. Patel insisted. We show them that the old ways of thinking, the isolation, the suspicion, they're luxuries we can no longer afford. Captain Tanaka stood, her decision made. Commander Vexter, would you be willing to remain aboard the Pathfinder as we return to Earth? Your presence, your testimony, could be crucial in convincing both our governments of the necessity of cooperation. You would trust me with direct access to your homeworld? Vexter asked, though he already knew the answer. You fought beside us, Zhang said simply. You bled with us. As far as I'm concerned, your crew now. Looking around the conference room, Vexter saw nods of agreement from all present. These humans, who had been strangers mere hours ago, now offered him something his own rigid society rarely provided: acceptance based not on rank or protocol, but on shared experience and mutual respect. Then let us hope, he said, that this bridge we've built in the darkness of space will light the way for both our peoples. Because I fear we have glimpsed only the beginning of what awaits us in the void between stars. As the Pathfinder set course for Earth, its crew, human and Kraven alike, knew they were carrying more than just warning of a new threat. They carried hope for a future where the boundaries between species mattered less than the bonds forged in battle, and the understanding that survival might depend not on strength alone, but on the willingness to reach across the stars and grasp an offered hand, no matter how alien it might appear. Legacy of the Stars. Earth grew larger in the Pathfinder's view screen, a blue jewel suspended in the void. Commander Vexter stood on the bridge, his scaled hands clasped behind his back, watching humanity's homeworld with an appreciation he would never have thought possible mere weeks ago. First time seeing Earth, Lieutenant Zhang asked, joining him at the viewport. It must look very different from your homeworld. The Kraven worlds are mostly desert and rock, Vexter replied. We evolved under harsh conditions which shaped our belief in strength through adversity. Yet here I stand, humbled by how much strength can be found in gentler things like trust freely given. The ship's comm system crackled to life. UES Pathfinder, this is Earth Defense Command. We're tracking a Kraven life sign aboard. Please explain. Captain Tanaka stepped forward. Defense Command, this is Captain Tanaka, transmitting full mission report and diplomatic credentials. Request immediate conference with Fleet Admiral Chen and the Emergency Response Council. Priority Ultra 1. There was a long pause. Vexter could sense the tension among the bridge crew. His presence on a human ship approaching Earth itself violated countless diplomatic protocols. Understood, Pathfinder, the response finally came. You are cleared for direct approach to Geneva. Security escort will meet you in high orbit. Be advised, Kraven diplomatic representatives have already been contacted and are en route. Well, Dr. Patel said from his station, that was faster than expected. The third enemy ship, Monroe explained. The one we let escape. Long-range sensors have detected similar spatial anomalies in 6 different sectors. Everyone's nervous. Captain Tanaka turned to her crew. Whatever happens next will shape the future of both our species. Commander Vexter, are you ready? To tell a room full of suspicious diplomats that their only hope of survival lies in unprecedented cooperation, his inner eyelids flickered with what the humans now recognized as wry amusement. I was trained to face death in battle. This may be more challenging. The landing in Geneva was a blur of security checks and barely concealed tension. Vexter noted how the human security forces maintained professional courtesy despite their obvious unease at his presence. Progress of a sort. The Emergency Response Council chamber was packed with representatives from both species. Human military officers and civilian leaders sat across from a delegation of Kraven officials, their ceremonial armor gleaming under the artificial lights. The atmosphere crackled with centuries of mutual suspicion. Captain Tanaka presented their report first, her voice steady as she described the rescue of Commander Vexter, the mysterious attack, and the successful defense through combined technology. Monroe followed with technical data, while Dr. Patel shared the unsettling analysis of the enemy's impossible weapons. Then it was Vexter's turn. He stood before both delegations, conscious of the weight of history on his shoulders. I stand before you as one who has seen the future, he began, his translator carrying his words clearly. Not in visions or prophecies, but in the heat of battle alongside those I once considered alien. The beings we faced care nothing for our divisions. They do not see human or Kraven, they see only matter to be unmade, reality to be unwoven. He gestured to the Pathfinder's crew. These humans saved my life when they had no obligation to do so. They shared their technology, their insights, their very ship with me. Together, we achieved what neither of our species could have done alone. And make no mistake, this was only the beginning. The Kraven High Commander, resplendent in battle-scarred armor, leaned forward. You speak of cooperation, Commander Vexter, of trust. These are not our ways. No, Vexter agreed. They are not. Our ways taught us strength through isolation. But what is stronger, a single blade or many forged together? What is more powerful, a warrior who stands alone or one who stands with trusted allies? Lieutenant Zhang stepped forward, presenting the modified Kraven crystals. They hummed with their new hybrid energy, a physical symbol of what cooperation could achieve. These crystals, she explained, are now neither purely Kraven nor human technology. They're something new, something better. The enemy we faced, Captain Tanaka added, exists outside normal space. They don't think like us, fight like us, or possibly even perceive reality as we do. To defend against them, we need to evolve beyond our own limitations, beyond our prejudices. Hours of debate followed. Questions about technology sharing, military protocols, cultural exchange. Through it all, Vexter watched the humans work. They didn't demand or dictate, they suggested, explained, listened. Even their arguments carried a strange sort of respect. Finally, the human fleet admiral stood. The threat is real, the evidence is clear. I propose an immediate joint task force combining our best scientists and warriors. We start with early warning systems, shared patrol routes, and technology exchange. The Kraven High Commander rose as well, his scales shifting in complex patterns. The old ways would call this weakness, but perhaps it is time for new ways. Commander Vexter's testimony carries the weight of sacred truth. We accept this proposal. As the chamber erupted in activity, Vexter found himself standing with the Pathfinder's crew. So, Captain Tanaka said quietly, it begins. No, Vexter corrected her. It began in deep space when a human ship stopped to help a stranger. Everything since has been proof of what we knew then, that the strongest bonds are forged in the darkest places, when we choose to reach across the void and trust. Later, watching shuttles move between Earth and the orbiting Kraven ships, Vexter remembered his lost crew. They had died alone, facing an impossible enemy. But their sacrifice had led to this moment, this chance for both species to face the darkness together. The stars looked different from Earth. brighter somehow, full of promise rather than cold isolation. Somewhere out there, the enemy was waiting, planning their return. But they would find something different when they came back, not separate species, easily divided and conquered, but a union forged in battle and tempered by understanding. For you, my fallen brothers, Vexthor whispered in his native tongue, your deaths brought life to something greater than ourselves. The Pathfinder's crew had taught him that strength could be found in unexpected places, in trust freely given, in hands extended in friendship, in bridges built across the stars. As human and Kraven ships began their first joint patrol, Vexthor knew that the real victory wasn't just surviving the attack, it was discovering that the deepest darkness could lead to the brightest dawn. The void between stars was vast and cold, but it was no longer empty. It was filled with possibility, with hope, with the legacy of a single act of compassion that had changed the course of two civilizations. And somewhere in that void, watching and waiting, the enemy would soon learn what that legacy truly meant.